Hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast, and I hope you enjoyed the new intro. And yeah, I totally made it myself, actually. So I think, uh, because, or just for the reason that I made it myself, and I'm not really like an audio producer type of thing, or musician, or whatever, it is kind of great. So without just, really really tapping myself on the shoulder or something, like, well done. uh it's really it's really kind of great to have something that's like only you have it. So it's just some kind of thing people can recognize your podcast when they just, if you have a few podcasts or listening to a few podcasts, and this certain melody comes up, you exactly know, well, man, this is the fucking SDVD or SDWT podcast. But as you can see on the left side of the screen here, wrong one, here actually, we are going to go ahead with the definitive book of body language, and I do hope this will be the last episode of doing it, because I'm kind of getting tired of it, maybe a little bit. But before that, I do have to make sure that there is enough light. Should I just... No. The actual thing is, why wearing a cap is also great, is that I do, it's quite way easier to really just, cut myself out in Photoshop afterwards to make the thumbnail, and therefore it's always great to wear a cap. But the glasses, lipstick, and these things, we have done this. The body angles, we have done this. The woman called the shots, we have done this. The attraction process, yeah, we have stopped there. Totally. Nice that I found it so quickly. But, we will just go ahead. So the attraction process. The human courtship follows a predictable 5-step sequence. The first step is the eye contact. She looks at him until he notices and hold eye contact for around 5 seconds, then turns away. A woman will repeat this behavior a few times. The author of this summary just wrote down a little note. In my experience, it's often less than 5 seconds, especially if she's engaged in a convo with a friend or you're not straight on and she needs to turn her head to see you. And this makes sense because, it just also takes time to move your head and so on. So, and I do think that women do not make it so obvious. Like, yeah, they make it obvious, as you might know, because of the last episode, that we fucking men always get it kind of wrong and do not understand what these signals the women send us really mean. But I think it should not be too obvious. So therefore, they're just a little bit, sneaky around, I would say. The second step is smiling. She gives him a quick half smile, which is, I think, like nothing with teeth, but something like, a little bit smiley, you know it. Stage 3 is then preening. She straightens up, emphasizing her breasts, sits to show off her legs, or if she's standing, tilts her head sideways and tilts her hip. Look at undercover sex signals for more. He can respond standing up straight, pulling in stomach and expanding his chest, tucking his thumbs into his belt, and preening as well. They point their feet or entire body towards each other. So I would really suggest you to go to the last episode, because they just talk about, it either is the last episode or the episode before. No, it is the last episode. It should be. And there I talk about undercover sex signals, so what the author here just linked, if you see it so if you're watching the video. But definitely go to this stage, because then everything makes a little bit more sense and you understand, if you're in this position, what should I do? What should I definitely not do? And so on and so on. Therefore, I just really invite you, not because I get a click, but I can just help you. And this is actually, and I do really want to emphasize it a little bit more. I do have to be honest, and on my way and in the process and in this journey that I am on currently, I definitely just put out more and more, and try to step up the quality even more and more, and try to make everything a little bit better. The thing is, because of that, I kind of get lost of the thought that helping people, even though I'm talking quite a lot of it or a lot about it, I kind of lost that feeling, or kind of lost that thought, some sort of. And as I was just wasting a fucking lot of time today, which is just the reason why I'm actually now recording, because it feels then like I'm doing something intelligent and productive today. No, I've done some things. I've made the intro, and I've done the posts already, and I've done something for my internship for this year. But yeah, it could have been way more, because I'm up for 5 hours now, and this is what I've got in 5 hours. Everything takes a little bit of time, and you shouldn't be too hard to yourself. But yeah, you can actually see that it wasn't that much. But what would I want to say? Yeah, while I was working, I always tend to listen to speeches or to just something motivational or something positive, because it makes myself positive and it really helps me. And if you know my story, yeah, motivational speeches was the very fundamental of my journey. And because of these motivational speeches I've been listening to, I'm really the person I am today. This is some kind of fact. And therefore I just really tend to listen to them more, even nowadays, to really get myself pumped up. And yeah, to come to the point, I was listening to a speech of Simon Sinek, if I remember his name correctly. You maybe know him. He was on Gary Vee's show as well. He has written books, so he's a pretty knowledgeable and incredible guy. And I think he's even a designer, if I got that information right. But he was talking about giving back, and yeah, giving back actually makes sense, and just helping other people also makes sense. And what do I mean by just it makes sense? It makes sense in terms of you feel better if you just help other people. It's the same thing, and he has explained it the same way as I'm going to explain it right now. You know why sex feels good? Because nature, or whomever you're believing to, so it could be God, it could be nature, it could be whatever, it feels good because our human species wants to, or just has to, expand, and therefore sex just feels good. And because of that, we just do it even more and more and more. The thing is, yeah, nowadays with yeah, certain things like condoms and all these things, the whole kind of aspect of the life, or this aspect, just got thrown away. So but yeah, it's the same thing with helping people. By helping people, which seems to be scientifically proven, a certain hormone gets put out into your body and so on, that makes you just feel good. And why? Because we just have to protect our own species. And by helping each other, especially in the really early days of our species, what I'm just really talking about over and over and over again, we just helped each other. We just had to, we just, were hunting, or we were just collecting some berries or whatever, and we had to really help each other, because without helping, we all would have died. This is just facts. And therefore, helping people, and, this is just some kind of thing as well nature gave to us, that we just fucking keep attention to other people and help them. Nowadays, there are no predators and there are no fears, like dying fears, so therefore we don't help each other. This is some kind of my conclusion, but therefore I really suggest you to do it, even if it's just like something very, very simple. Someone just forget his cap in a train, and you just shout to him, yeah man, you've lost your cap, here is it, or something like this, or you bring it to him. And these are just really small things, but this could and will practically make somebody's day. Because if you just lose your hat or your, something, it's always just a shitty feeling to have if you lose something and so on. It's nothing great. But yeah. Stage 4, the talk. He approaches and attempts to make small talk. The stage 5 is touch. She initiates light touching, either accidental or not. A hand touch is more intimate than the arm. The touch is repeated to let them know it was not accidental. Touching the shoulder of a man says she cares about his health and appearance. Great to know. These 5 steps are critical, and it's what most people, men in premise, find challenging. Even though it just seems to be so fucking simple. But I do understand that, yeah, men definitely get it wrong. Definitely. I think it's just in our nature. It sounds stupid, but I think it is like it. So the 13 most common female courtship signals that all we men just get always wrong. The Finnish Book of Body Language says that women use a lot of the same gestures men use, such as touching the hair, smoothing the clothes, body pointing, gaze, and one or both hands on hips. She may even use the thumb in belt gesture, albeit, or I've known this word and I've looked it up, but I have forgotten it, unfortunately. So albeit, it's albeit. It's a bit more subtle. For example, only one thumb tucked into the belt or protruding from a handbag. The first one is the head toss and hair flick. Usually the first used even by women with short hair. So head toss or hair flick. Wet lips and pouting mouth open. Women have more subcutaneous fat than men, including lips, which are used as sign of femininity. Pouting increases the lips' size. Also, the female genital lips are proportional to their lips, so it becomes a sexual mimicry. Aroused women have their lips, breasts, and genitals become larger and redder because of blood circulation. So red lipsticks are very attractive. Wow, I didn't know that. I always thought like, yeah, red lipstick, yeah, it just, gets attention and so on, but there's actually something behind it. And this is also, I think it's an incredible book. And I think this is an incredible summary as well, because there's so fucking much in it. This is just incredible information that you can, either use in terms of yourself or somebody else, or just through analyzing or for analyzing other people or teaching other people all this stuff. And just to know, I think knowledge is something pretty important. I would not say that you should know everything and that you shouldn't be knowledgeable in every single area of life. Totally not, because it makes no sense. Why should you just, know something about history if it, if it isn't interesting to you, or if you're not passionate about it or something. But I think knowledge is king, and knowledge is something very, very beautiful. Third one is self-touching. Our minds act our secret desires. I'm just thinking about something. Sorry. The limp wrist. The limp wrist is a submission signals used only by women and gay men in business situation should be avoided. So the limp wrist. Limp wrist. Limp Wrist is an American punk rock band. Okay, thank you. Body language. I hope this fucking video gets not demonetized. So it's like this. Like this. Yeah, definitely not something not gay men or hetero men would do, I think. Yeah, this sounds a little bit, just not right, so I didn't mean it like this. Yeah, you get it. The fifth one is fondling a cylindrical object. A man could, in turn, symbolically possess her by fondling her belonging, a cigarette lighter, keys, etc. So fondling, what is fondling? Yeah, never mind. We have to go on. Fondling a cylindrical object, a man could in turn symbolically possess her by fondling her belonging, a cigarette lighter, keys, etc. Exposed wrists, especially simple to do for smoking women. The seventh one is sideways glance on a raised shoulder. The eighth one is rolling hips. A woman has an accidented roll that highlights her feminine pelvic region. The ninth one, the pelvic tilt. Tilting the pelvis shows her waist to hit hip ratio. A waist to hip ratio of 70% is considered most attractive, at 80% men being too loose interested and are not interested at 100%, but are still interested at lower than 70%. 70% was attractive even when the woman was quite heavy. Yeah, it's quite always in terms of proportion. It's also the same thing in design. Yeah, the relation to certain objects just can be very, very just attractive or aesthetic, even if the objects themselves are, not colored right or, aesthetical, or if they just do not look right or aesthetical and so on. So it's always quite a thing, these proportions and relations and so on. The 11th one is the knee point. Sorry, I've lost one. The 10th one is the handbag nearby. Sorry. A woman's handbag is almost an extension of her body, and putting it near a man is an indicator of interest. Fondling or asking him to get something from it is equally positive. The 12th one is shoe fondle. It has the phallic effect of thrusting the food in and out. It can unsettle many men without knowing what's happening. The 13th and last one is the 13th, sorry, let twine. The most appealing sitting position a woman can take. Other leg signals are crossing and uncrossing the legs slowly in front of the man and gently stroking the thighs. Is it thighs? Thighs with her hand. So I think it's like, yeah, they're not the upper part of the leg, but the other way around. Also later on, Pease says that a woman is likely to lean forward and push her arms close, pressing her breasts together and showing cleavage. These all just sound so stupid. Stupid in terms of, these are just like, really, really obvious. But I do think that if you're just talking to a woman and so on, it doesn't seem so obvious. Not like that, not like, look at my tits, motherfucker. Not like something like this, it's just, it's just funny to read it so obvious and so like straightforward. Yeah, definitely straightforward is a good adjective for this one. So male courtship signals, I'm just really, really, and there are like 3. Women have 13, we have like 3 or maybe 10. Yeah, okay. So men are generally not good at sending and receiving the signals used in the mating game. You don't say. They most often react to women's mating signals and often react poorly too. Male courtship signals involve the display of power, wealth, and status. So I've misread, I think. They most often react to women's mating signals. They most often do not react to women's signals, I think. So some other signs include preening, straightening the tie, brush, imagine dust from the shoulder, touch cufflinks or watch and rearrange shirt or coat. The crotch display, the most direct sexual display, is the aggressive thumbs in belt gesture when seated or against a wall. He can also spread his legs. And the crotch adjustments. So what men look at in women, Barbara and LP say that when it comes to body shape, both men and women prefer athletic body shapes. Men are more attracted to women with a childlike face, large eyes, small nose and full lips and cheek, as it is released hormones that want to make them protect her. Women prefer instead adult faces such as strong jaws, larger brows and strong noses. Guys are split among preferences for butts, breasts. Men love them in every shape and size because it's the cleavage that is most attractive and the legs. What women look at most? So the definitive book of body language says something you are probably familiar with. Women prefer men with deeper, smoother voices because deep tones are linked to testosterone levels. Pease adds that in countries where feminism has been more influential, women have taken jobs requiring more testosterone production and have become more assertive and authoritative in their voice deepened as well. He hopes hairy chests won't follow suit. I don't get that one. 40% of women prefer butts, legs and chests. Arms are equally split. So 40% of women prefer butts. Legs and chests or arms are equally split. So I do have to read one certain sentence of this one again. So Pease adds that in countries where feminism has been more influential, women have taken jobs requiring more testosterone production and have become more assertive and authoritative, and their voice deepens as well, just by only having a certain job. That's pretty interesting. Barbara and LP say that tight butt are preferred because it helps making the strong forward motions needed for successful sperm transfer during sex. Tight butt. Okay. And this also makes sense, you know. Most of the time, these all things just make sense. Yeah, in terms of what, why we like certain women's. Yeah, because they have big eyes. Yeah, we want to protect them. Yeah, it's just what we want to do. Why do girls like certain things? Yeah, because we can make better sex and so on. It makes just everything sense. The availability beats looks. The authors say that a man is often more attracted to a woman by the signs of her availability than by her physical attractiveness, and you can learn and practice availability signals. Indeed, Pease says, studies show that most people are skeptical about beautiful people, and it appears to be inborn as babies prefer average faces to very beautiful ones, and we prefer mates who are roughly as attractive as we are, which means they are more likely to stay and not go look for someone else. And this also makes sense, you know, all these things make sense. And this is the great thing about it, that you can just use your common sense and just be like, yeah, I will do this or this body gesture because it just is this and that, or it just seems to be this and that, and then you do this and this actually then works or it works not. But whatever you do, you just learn. And learning things is actually, so if you are a parent, I do want to really emphasize this one now. If you are a parent, I please you to really do not be like to your children, like, yeah, you did it wrong. Yeah, fuck you. You're just a piece of shit. You made one thing wrong. You're just so piece of shit. Something like this, or just scream at them and shout at them and give them some restrictions and whatever. It doesn't make anything better. It makes everything worse because all these poor children just are like, yeah, failure is the equivalent of not good. But it is good. Actually, failure is one of the best things you can do. If you just fail at something, but I do not want to say that you should fail because you want to fail, just fail because of the process, but not like, consciously. But if you just fail and something just goes wrong and so on, you just learn. And if you learn, you can just progress and, evolve. Evolve in terms of your character, in terms of your skills, in terms of everything. So just do not implement these things in your children or in your child, that failing is not good. It is good. You can learn through failure the best way. It is the best way. So, yeah. But I'm really interested in what you think, you out there. So if you do, in general, want to tell me something, there should all the social media links to all my social media channels, sorry. They should be in the podcast description, so not in the episode description where I just write down, what is happening in this certain episode, but in the real podcast description where I just have the little summary, where I just do have one link. I think it's linklight.at, which is for Austria. I do want to emphasize this because I've kind of noticed when I was, going around a little bit in my city, people might be a little bit, what's this domain? It kind of feels like, it's maybe not that right. Maybe I shouldn't click on it because it's something like, Voreigen, and therefore I, quite want to emphasize that, that it is what it is. The funny thing, I do just had to check a video I wanted to upload yesterday, but actually it failed to upload every single time because because of the process. So not actually the uploading is making any mistakes or making the whole process fail, but the processing after the upload, which is something that YouTube has to do in terms of the captions and all these things. These things, or this particular thing, isn't working. And he says, yeah, maybe the supported file type is not supported, or the file type I'm using is not supported, and so on. But I don't know. Which is a little bit, not that good. Yeah, I do have the podcast, but, missing a video is also not that great, because for the people who are just, watching the YouTube videos, they just want to have everything and not like, something from this and something from that and so on. But, yeah. Hot versus cold. People who are described as cold tend to be physically colder too, because their blood flows to legs and arm muscles for the fight or flight response. When one person is attracted to other, blood rises to the skin and surface, making them warmer. Ownership and territory and height signals. Height. Humans lean against objects and other people to show ownership and take a territorial claim. If the object we lean against or touch belongs to someone else, it can also be used as an intimidation, a sign, or as a challenge. Leaning against the doorway of someone else's office or sitting in his chair can also be an intimidating ploy. A boss speaking to a subordinate in his own office could put his feet on a desk, but if his superior enters his office, he is more likely to change the position and might, for example, place a foot on the bottom drawer of the desk. Lovers hold hands or put their arms around each other to show we wanna be competitors. They have a claim on that. So lovers hold hands or put their arms around each other to show competitors they have a claim on that person. Makes sense. The height or the size. Barbara and Pease say that people make themselves smaller to show difference. Taller men tend to have greater productive success because height is linked to testosterone, and because women tend to choose taller partners. Men prefer shorter women because it gives them the height advantage. Makes sense. On the screen, we tend to assign high centimeters based on the power and authority of their presentation. This is why Pease say many short actors or politicians do well on the screen. They simply act tall. My note: I honestly see no point and no merit here in Pease's assertion of acting tall. Behavior is, yes, somewhat related to height, but so loosely so that there is no such thing as tall behavior. Also, you act the way you need to act independently of your height. As a matter of fact, a short man acting powerfully is even more impressive, and a taller man acting submissive is more striking. It makes sense, and this is the great thing about these, summaries that I just had to see if my fans are too loud. This is the great thing about the summaries, that you actually have three voices. You have the voice of the author of the book, you have the voice of the author of this summary or this article, and you have my voice, and you have your own voice, so actually four. So you do have quite four opinions, and therefore you can just get the most out of it. You just have the most informations, the most perspectives, and so on. So it's just a great thing. So powerful performances or impressive titles are led to you being perceived as taller. Barbara and LP said that if you want to test the authority that comes with height, lie down on the floor and try to permanent something standing. Then try the opposite. My note: I feel this test is preposterous, as nobody deals with each other while lying down or laying down. If you really wanted to try something similar, then you should stand on your knees. But even then it's not very popular, as you can't move around freely. You should just try to reprimand someone taller than you, as simple as that. So I do not get the whole point of this whole text right now, or this whole paragraphs. I hope I do just link towards it in the next one, but I will go on because I do quite want to go through it today fully. But yeah. So very tall people can have the disadvantage when they want to connect with people shorter than they are. A very tall salesman found out that delivering sales presentation while seated increases his sales substantially, a whopping 62%. To sum it up, to fully quote Barbara and LPs, height differences can have a significant impact on relationships, but height and power are often just perceptions or perception. Sorry. Lowering body and raising status. Barbara and LP said that slouching down in a chair can raise your status. If the owner of the place is standing and you slouch down, the complete informality on someone else's territory communicates dominance or aggressive attitude. People tend to be superior and protective when in their territory, especially their own home, so using submissive gestures and behavior is effective for getting them on your side. Totally true, and it makes sense as well. The authors say you can also make yourself to avoid intimidating others or to avoid coming across confrontational. Pease uses the example of appeasing cops who pulled you over for a ticket by playing the victim. It's an extremely interesting example, albeit a bit slimy, for which I invite you to read the book. Basically, the idea is to show that you're not a threat and encourage him to take the role of the demanding parent, in which case he may decide to give you a permanent without the ticket, says Pease, up to 50% of the time. So you just so this is now a question for you, do you then just double the chances of getting no ticket? Because you can just use this kind of trick or just use these techniques, but it doesn't mean that if you do not do it that you won't get anything. But does it then mean that you just some kind of double the chance that you get no ticket, or you cut the chance of getting a ticket in half? The second one just seems to be a little bit better for me, but I'm not quite sure. So note, I have used this technique twice, both times very successfully, but I wished he had added the other option is to just be a woman, take it in stride and pay your ticket. Oh, I just see, I misread it, to just be a man. So just both, just to be a woman or just be a man and pay your fucking ticket. Was a great thing. This is also something that I have been talking about this with a colleague of mine, and he said, for a teacher, it is good to play the victim because she's like this. She's very dominant, even though she's kind of like playing it, or just don't know how I should explain it. But this is something I do quite feel not like doing. I'm not a person who is playing the victim just because I get some kind of advantage. I rather just put myself into a worse position to just be myself and be like me and what I am and what I stand for. But even though it's not the best thing to do, and even though it's not intelligent or whatever you want to call it, to just then get fucked at the end. But negating height power. Barbara and LP said that if you are shorter, you can create a sitting situation that will neutralize the height of the other negotiators in a room by lowering the chairs or raising yours, or raising yours, as was suggested by Lyle Lowndes, sitting at the opposite side of a desk or talking to them standing while they are seated are also good techniques. Talking in public settings such as bars or crowds or in a car or plane also limits the tactics of taller speaking partners. Looking outside of a window as they speak, giving the impression you are giving deep thoughts to discussion also when a field as height advantage doesn't exist when you are not looking at them. To appear taller, dark colored clothing pinstripe suits or pants, suits, and full-sized watches make you look taller. I'm not quite sure about the watch, but I'm definitely sure about the pinstriped suits. So about the watch, the idea is they just explain it. Yeah, thank you, man, for explaining it. So about the watch, the idea is that the bigger the watch, the more clout the person appears to have. The more clout. It's CLOUT. Don't know what it is, so therefore I do not quite understand it. So I feel like let's go on the DeepL website again and put in clout. Yeah, misspell everything. Oh. Okay, yeah, this makes also sense because, a bigger watch is heavier and so on and so on and so on. Just have to look for how long it is going on with this. It's quite a lot, and I do think this won't be the last episode. It depends on how long I will make it, but I think I'm not going to do it that long because there is just another episode the day as well, so I do not have to stress myself to really I have to do it and so on. But so seating arrangements. This was for me one of the most interesting chapters of the definitive book of body language because it opened some new doors of understanding. And this is always great to have, and I feel like the whole book just created so many doors for myself that I'm really grateful just that I found this book, that I'm now discussing this book with you, and that I also can give you something out of this knowledge and out of my knowledge. How you sit in relation to other is an important tell of relationship statuses and powerful way to gain cooperation. It's very impactful and should never be left to chance. Seating positions, corner position. When both of you are standing by the corner of the table, it's used by people in friendly and casual conversations, and it avoids territorial division of the table. The corner of desk provides some smaller cover. Pease says this is the best position to deliver a presentation. And you do quite often see it in movies, or just if you just see a presentation, just a very typical presentation in like a meeting room. They just really are so the two that are presenting, or the one person that are presenting, but I just really visualize two people now. They are just really like on the corners of the table, a little bit wider back, or just a little farther back. Sorry. The cooperative position, sitting by the same side of the table, it's a great position for presenting your case and having it accepted. As it's a cooperative seating position one can have. Yeah, this is a little bit spelling mistake, so therefore, never mind. So the trick is to sit in this position without the other person feeling like you invaded his territory. Okay. Independent position. Each person is sitting at the corner facing each other, but both are the opposite end of the table, and it's used when people don't want to interact with each other. So therefore I do have to the corner position. Is there a picture? This would be great. Yeah, there's a picture. Make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. Yeah, this makes sense. So like around the corner. Okay. Yeah, this is also the same thing as they have explained with standing positions, that you should always be in a 45-degree angle towards the other person you're talking with, so that you create a 90-degree angle with the other person. And this is just the same exact thing as they are doing right now at the table. So for the podcast listeners, they are sitting at the table, and they're really close to each other, but one is at the head of the table, and the other person is on the side of the table. Therefore, they just create this 90-degree angle and are in a 45-degree angle towards each other. But what is then the independent position? Independent position. Let's know. Let's see if I can find it. But it seems to be not good. But there is some kind of... Yeah, no, I can't find it. But I think it's like... It's like how I have just really visualized it, that there are two corners and everyone has their own corner. Some sort of like in boxing, for example. Not, but like inverted, because you then have a ring and you're actually not sitting inside of the table. But yeah. The competitive or defensive, the two face each other frontally with the table in between. The table becomes a solid barrier between the two, and it can lead to each party taking a first stand on his point of view. A competitive or defensive position can really make a huge difference, often negative difference. People speak in shorter sentences in this position, can recall less of what was said, and are more likely to argue. An experiment showed that in patient-doctor relationships, only 10% were ease when sitting in the defensive position, against 55% when the desk was not present. Many managers unlikely preferred the desk. 76% of senior managers preferred the desk, and 50% of lower managers did. Male managers were twice as likely to place a desk between themselves and their subordinates, and the person sitting to your right tend to be more cooperative than the one to your left. So I'm just thinking, like, if it's, for right-handed people, if it is then really, it then would make sense that it is just, the right person. But if you are left-handed people, is it then the person of the left side or on the left side? Because I have once learned, also in a body language book, that if you point on something with your left hand and you're a left-handed person, then it is something you like. If you are a left-handed person, you just show something with your right hand, then it's something you don't like. Or it seems to be, and it would just make a little bit sense. Keeping 3 people involved. Barbara and LP said that if you are sitting at a table with 2 other people and one is asking all a question, when the third one mostly stays silent, it's a good idea to still involve both of them. Pease and Pease recommends that you look at the question asker and you begin to reply, and then turn your head back to the silent person and keep going back and forth, go back and forth as you speak. You then finish looking at the question asker. This is something I always subconsciously do, because I always feel kind of bad if I'm talking to someone and another person is standing by, and I'm just talking to the person who is really just asking me the question. I do kind of feel like the other person might feel like I'm like unnecessary and something, and I do then really try to get them involved and to really look them in the face and talk towards them, and like really going back and forth. The rectangular board tables. The person sitting at the shorter edge of the table, the farthest from the door, is the one with most power. The person right in front of him across the table is next in line. Then the person in the middle of the long edge of the table, and then the person to the right of the leader. Which means that the person right beside the leader is actually the one with the lowest power. Seems to be. Power plays at home. Open families tend to go for round tables, while closed families prefer square tables. Authoritative families go for rectangular tables, placing the shyest person at the head of the table will often lead that person to talk more and even more authoritatively. I think it's not the shyest person. Is it the shyest person? I think, and they've also pointed out in their summary or in their book, that most of the time the people with a lot of power are sitting at the head of the table, even though I just have to. So rectangular board tables, it's rectangular, okay. So the person sitting at the shorter edge of the table, the farthest away from the door is the one with the most power. Yeah, totally what I was thinking about. So actually at the head of the table, just easily said. Definitely then away from the door. Okay. Audiences and sales. Barbara and Pease say that if you want someone to pay attention to what you're saying, you should sit them in front row. When you're having a business dinner or lunch, it's best to complete the business talk before the food arrives. Let your prospect sit with the back against a solid wall because open spaces make people uncomfortable. Sitting with the person, yeah, it makes sense because if you have a wall behind your back, or you're sitting with the back towards a wall, it just feels more secure because there is no possibility that someone is behind you and might, stab you in the back or something else. It's really also some kind of, natural thing or protective thing of yours or of ours. Because open spaces make people uncomfortable. Sitting with the person's back towards the door or a ground floor window also increases tension. Lights should be dimmed and muffled background music should be played to relax the senses. Yeah, because I think if there is no music and everything is like so silent and everything is like so, I don't know what like. But the thing is, then the creation, not the creation, but the tension gets up that we have to speak, and if there is silence, it's not good. But if there is some music, it's always something there. So there will never be some kind of really awkward silence, for example. But yeah, if you're selling in the defensive seating, you can try to place a paper in the middle of the table. If the prospect picks it up and moves it into his territory, it signals acceptance, and you can ask to go over to show him something so that you can take the collaborative position. But if he pushes the paper back to you, you don't encroach his personal space. And because I noticed that I'm getting quite I'm not quite keeping attention to what I'm actually reading, and I tend to really try to read good and well, and so that you can understand it, which is nothing bad, but I do not get something out of it, that this will then be the end of the episode. Yeah, sounds a little bit selfish, but if I do not know what I'm just reading about, I can't give my shit to it, and therefore you only quite have 3 voices, actually 2 in this paragraphs lately. So yeah, I wish you have a wonderful day. Today will be another episode. Definitely, I think sometime later in the evening. I always tend to work better, or like to work more in the evenings. So I do really want to go out now. I feel like I do want to, and I do have to, because it's like a little sunny outside. Nice, some kind of blue sky, and it's always great for me, and to just really loosen some tension, because if I'm sitting here all the time, this is something I do not like. I do not like to sit around all the time and look in my PC, and even though I'm working on some things I love, especially with things that involve creativity, it's always something like sometimes it's just enough. Sometimes it's just you need a break and you need something new to do. It was actually great that I just made the episode today, or right now, because it just loosens some kind of this tension that I was describing right now. But yeah, I wish you a wonderful day, and I wish you health, wealth, success, happiness. I wish that you're giving back. If you haven't today, do it. And legacy. And I see you the next time. I love you lots. And I hope you... And I was just really asking myself if I should actually be doing an outro as well. But I think not. So an intro is good, an outro is maybe too much. But yeah, I'll see you the next time.